Hello, everyone, and welcome to Savvy Social Media Strategy. This is a webinar in a long series of webinars that I've been running every month since October 2021, and it's going to be the last of my monthly webinars because I'm just going to be doing random webinars because I've been getting so many gigs everywhere that fitting in a monthly webinar is just going to be a little bit of a challenge for me. So the good news is this one's running. I'm running another one in May, and I will be producing short form video content on a roughly weekly basis. So hopefully that will be helpful to most of you. And, there will be still the odd webinar, but they won't be literally every month. So just letting you know about that. This particular one is going to include specific tips, relevant examples. I'm going to encourage you to pick 3 things you can do within 3 hours. Now, Christopher, you do have an exemption since it's already 8 p.m. there. Yeah, definitely, if you can find things to do, they say that if you don't do something within 3 days, you'll never do anything. So, yeah, that's a concern. And also, it's like a dream. If you don't make notes, you tend to forget it as soon as the webinar is finished. So if you hear me say something that is relevant for you, can I please encourage you to make a note of it, whether you do that digitally or with a pen and paper like I do. Yeah, pop it down so that you can take action, and this free webinar will be of tremendous value for you. For those of you who don't know me, my career started at Westpac Bank in Adelaide, South Australia, where I worked for 11 years in a lot of different roles, moved to Melbourne, got a job, found out I was pregnant, got sacked, and that was in 1994, and I basically haven't had a real job since. So I am now a member of a lot of professional associations because I like to support the industries that I'm in. My books can be found at 120wayspublishing.com. You can learn more about me on my website, and you can find out about my services and pricing. And if you scan this code, this will take you to the contact page of my website where you can follow me on all of my social media channels. And the exciting news is I've just hit 30,000 followers on LinkedIn, and I've had over 500 in the last 5 days. And a little bit later in the webinar, I will be explaining why I've had a 500 follower increase very, very recently as a result of my social media strategies that I put into place. And thank you, Christopher, for putting in your details all the way from New York. Feel free to connect with Christopher. I know he's all up for that. I have a client in Delaware at the moment. I didn't even know where Delaware was. I had to look up the map, but it's south of New York, I've discovered. And I'm really enjoying working with my US client on a regular basis. So I have another one in India. I have had clients from all over the world, but they're my social media channels. If you would like to connect on your favorite ones. And you can see I'm on quite a lot, and that's also part of the story of this Savvy Social Media Strategy webinar. For turning up, I will automatically send you the latest offer files via email this afternoon. So you will get these digital files that you can use. If you'd like to join me in Melbourne for a LinkedIn workshop, my next one for 3 hours is on Saturday, the 22nd of February in person, and includes a paperback copy of my book, which you might be able to see in the background in my bookshelf there. So I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land where we're all based. This presentation is designed for everybody. I'm going to be sending you the slides and the video recording. You can leave your video camera off if you wish. I do welcome questions in the chat, comments, LinkedIn links if you want to connect with the other people. That is all fine. And if the question's relevant, I'll answer it during the presentation. Otherwise, I do want to focus on getting through the material in the 30 minutes as promised, but I can stay as long as you like after that. Well, at least until 1:30 when I've got to take a call. And I'd love to know what has been most helpful to you at the end. That's always a bit of a clue that helps me understand where people are at. And if you're watching this after the event, some screens may have changed, but also it's about 10 hours of work for me to put these webinars together. So if you can find a way to say thank you, I would really appreciate that. You can buy a book, follow me on social media, provide an endorsement on LinkedIn of my skills, or a recommendation on LinkedIn, or a Facebook or Google review. And I'll send you those links at the end of the webinar. So when you registered for this event, you would have seen these questions to make you think about your savvy social media strategy. What are your reasons for being on social media? Where are you at now with your social media strategy? What platforms provide what type of benefits? I can briefly touch on those at the end. And how do you keep up with engaging and the content, and what will I recommend next? So the way I've decided to go through this is initially start with, well, who are you, the audience? What angle are you coming from today? That will help me guide the examples that I use. Are you in your own business? Are you trying to build up your own personal brand? Put number 2 in. Number 3, working for someone else. Number 4, you're supporting a cause that you're passionate about. Or number 5, something else. So what's your main reason for being here and being interested in the topic of social media? If you'd just like to put one of those numbers in the chat, that would be fantastic. Let's have a look. What have we got? 3, lots of 2s. 1, 2, 3. Oh, a 4. Oh, that sounds interesting, Tara. No, sorry, that was Nazrin. Great. Okay, so we've got a mix. Excellent, but lots of 2s in there, your own personal brand. Yes, don't we all need one? And one of my recent webinars was about creating your own name website. And I actually recommend that for anybody who's going for senior leadership positions now. I first went online in 2001 with the website, joined LinkedIn in 2003, and didn't create SueElson.com until 2012. But I do recommend for everybody else from now on, my 3 favourite words, to have their own name website, because on your own website, you can put whatever content you like, and you can put it in whatever layout you like as well, which can also be helpful to you. All right, so what am I going to go through today? The why, where, who, what, when, how, strategy, and tactics. So that's a lot to get through in 30 minutes. So why? If you are on social media, it's not about falling into the time-wasting vortex that most people understand social media to be. You can be aiming for impressions, for views, for reactions, which is when somebody likes the content that you've shared. Sometimes it's a love heart, sometimes it's a thumbs up. On LinkedIn, it can be a light bulb, it can be a ha-ha laughing emoji, it can be a support where there's a love heart in your hands. There's all sorts of reactions that you can do. And so some people say, oh, nobody liked my post, it must have been a disaster. Well, not necessarily. So, I don't rely just on reactions. And also comments. Now, if I make a comment, I try and make it as long as possible, because that is going to help that person's content go more viral, particularly if it includes words that were included in the social media post. So wherever I can, I write lengthy comments. I don't just like. I try and add a comment if I can. And mind you, I don't spend hours doing it. I just allocate a bit of time and go for it. But if I can, and particularly if it's for one of my clients or somebody I know, a supporter or an encourager, then I definitely try and add comments in if I can. Reposts are kind of cool. I don't chase them. If they happen, great. I will always say thank you for reposting. Shares are incredible. But when we have our content that somebody takes the time to copy the link and send it to someone they know, that's when we know that our content is really having an impact. And so if you've got people who regularly copy your stuff and send it to someone they know, you know you've really touched a chord with someone, because they've been spurred on to take action from what you've shared. Obviously, we also want leads and sales. I'm going to be talking today only about free stuff on social media. I'm not talking about paid social media strategy, but if it doesn't work on the free version, why would you spend money on that content? So, it's really important that you get across the free stuff first. So where? I think of social media as a former banker as an asset. And an asset is an item that in theory generates a return. And it generates a return because if somebody Googles you or puts you into a chat, generative AI chat, to try and find out information about you, it has the potential to appear in the results provided by either search or chat. So it's another website, for want of a better word. And I believe if you want to start your own business, you can start it just from a LinkedIn profile. But it's another component of your website presence. And you would be amazed at the number of clients I've worked with who do not link to all their social media profiles on their website. They forget their YouTube one or their Twitter account or whatever. Or they had their website built by a website developer who didn't put the links in. So, you know, oh mon Dieu, why do people not do this? I mean, it's really, really valuable to do that. So then you need to obviously pick the social media you choose. And I prefer to stick with the main players rather than go off on all these randoms, because there's just not the numbers there. And I don't need any more work than I can possibly manage. I did experiment with Threads, and because, you know, it had the most subscriptions ever because it was just a press of a button, but then it was just like a ghost town over there. So I deleted my Threads account. But I do have a Pinterest account. And the reason I have Pinterest is it performs particularly well for images, and it gets you search results for that. So I found, yeah, Pinterest has been really interesting to be involved in there. I'm obviously also on directories. I get my name on as many other websites as possible. So if I write a piece of content, I like to ask them, can you please link back to my SueElson.com website? Any media coverage, I can't reproduce it unless I have their permission. Now, I do have that permission with Channel 9 and 3AW. I don't have that permission with ABC Radio here in Australia. That's the main national broadcaster. So I can only link to it. But even if I'm linking to something where I've been published, that's still going to help me in the world of my online presence. I also like to appear on high domain authority websites. So if I get the opportunity to publish something somewhere, I will generally do it. I've also written books, and they are also amazing at helping your online personal brand. So if you can write a book and have an ISBN number on it, that is going to open up a world of digital opportunities for you. I'm also in generative AI chat results because of how much content I've published over such a long time. And it has also helped me maintain relationships with people. If I had to message all my friends every, you know, month to say, hi, I'm still alive, versus put a post on Facebook and they can check, it's obviously a lot easier to do that. So it helps maintain that. And this is where I choose the different platforms to do those different things. Now, you might say the only person I want to reach are the people who are going to buy my products or services, or my you know, me in whatever I do. But the reality is you're going to have friends and family, you're going to have colleagues, competitors, collaborators, mentors, people who refer to you, people in your network, in your industry, your profession. If you go looking for someone, or just random people who bump into you somehow or another, these are the people you're going to reach on social media, with or without wanting to. So it's important that you understand that anything you put online, even if you say it's private, it still has the opportunity to reach any random person. So you could say, oh, well, I blocked this person, they can't see my content anymore, but they might know someone else who knows you, and then they can see your content through that. So I always assume absolutely everything I publish online is going out to anybody and everybody, and I won't necessarily know who those people are. I don't lie in bed at night worrying about it. I just know that everything I publish is public, and hopefully it will reach the right people, you know, depending on my strategy. And the quality of the content I share is really important. Now, when social media first started out, it was all about who were your friends, whatever format that was on whichever platform. So the distribution model was based on who you're connected to, essentially. So if you put something up and your friend likes it, then, and that friend knows somebody else you know, then and you're not connected to them, but it's still likely to reach them. So it's all based on the relationships. And the algorithm decides whether it's going to keep sending it on and on and on to extra people, or whether it's going to say, look, even though we sent it to 100 people, nobody looked at it, nobody liked it, nobody stopped scrolling, nobody watched the video, therefore, dead content. We're not going to send it any further. Now, the interesting thing is over time, social media has changed, and now a lot of the results are based on the quality of the content. So it's irrelevant how many followers you have and friends in your network. If it's an amazing piece of content, then it's going to reach a lot more people. And again, I'll be showing you an example of this. However, just because you've had a viral piece of content doesn't mean that you are doing social media right. You still have to fill in your profiles. And a lot of people say, oh, no, I'm already on LinkedIn. And I say, but hang on a minute, nothing's filled in here. This is not working for you. So you need to fill in the profile, and you need to visit all of your social media profiles at least every 6 months, because there's new little bits and bobs that the platforms say you can fill in this part and that part. So for instance, on Facebook, you can list all your other social media profiles. On Instagram, you can link to your website now. There's all this extra stuff available. So you need to log in, check out the profiles and make sure they're all filled in. Obviously, I have a policy of connecting with every single person that I meet. If I believe they are really relevant to my mission, then I will also follow them and click the notification bell so I get more of their content in my news feed. I obviously react and engage with content because the algorithms are saying, all right, Sue, when you logged in, all you did was share your stuff. Okay, so you're speaking, you're not listening. So what I have to do is I have to listen as well. And the platforms determine that I'm listening by the fact that I react or like content and that I actually write comments on it. Then they know that I'm really interested in that. If you don't feel confident producing content, you can curate someone else's stuff. So you can see something you love and share it, or you can create your own. But you also need, with your strategy, to look at what's happening on the social media channels and reflect and say, will I do that again? Now, I went to an event recently and they told me, just go on TikTok and do everything on TikTok because that's where it is at the moment. And I was really shocked by that suggestion, because I would never, ever rely on any one social media platform. As much as I love LinkedIn and it's my favorite, I would never just rely on LinkedIn. I think YouTube is essential for everyone as well, and everything else after that is optional. But still in Australia, the biggest audience, believe it or not, is on Facebook. I suspect it's Facebook Messenger, not actually Facebook, but nevertheless, I am on other social media platforms. So I need to reflect on the value of these. And I've noticed that on my Twitter/X account, the number of followers is decreasing. And I think it's because people are leaving the platform. And, I've found I don't like that platform at all, but it does give me search results. So I'm still there. But, you need to reflect and review these opportunities from time to time, adapt and grow. So yes, initially it was all about your friends, but now it's about creating viral content. You've got to be understanding that and understanding the free options first. But at the end of the day, you really need to be consistent. And I classify consistent as not 7 times a day, as Gary Vaynerchuk once said on a podcast I listened to, but once a week. If you can be going online and doing all your engagement, your likes and comments and reactions, whatever, and then perhaps sharing one piece of content. So 1 to 3 engagements, a minimum, and then at least one piece of content. Now, if you can't manage weekly, monthly is okay, but it just means you've got to increase your amount of engagement, because you still need to let the platforms know that you're alive and kicking. You also need to allow for what will happen automatically. So let's say, for instance, you've got a bee in your bonnet and you had 3 posts and you put them all out tomorrow. Well, that's going to be great for tomorrow, but only one of them is actually going to work for you. And then the other 2 are sort of dead ducks. So you would be better off putting those 3 posts out over the space of 2 or 3 weeks, rather than 3 posts just in one day, because it's going to kill it off. You also need to allow for what will dynamically happen on the day. So if there's a particular piece of content that's really relevant, it will automatically, spark some interest around. And so allow that to happen, and don't race in and produce your next piece of content. Just let it keep cooking. And again, I'll show you this example shortly, which will just blow your mind. You also need to allow for lifetime effectiveness. So one of the things I love about LinkedIn is the fact you can produce newsletters and you can write articles, and they stay on the internet forever and can be found in search results. And rather than a post in the news feed, unless you're linking to that somewhere, it sort of disappears a little bit. So I love those pieces of lifetime content. YouTube videos is another lifetime piece of content. People can search for those videos long after you ever recorded them. And again, pop the links back to your website. Yes, Christopher, a lot of social media pages have scheduling options. So yes, if you did want to put your 3 posts together today and then schedule them to go out once a week for 3 weeks, you could absolutely do that by the platform, or there's third-party services that can also schedule it to go out over those 3 weeks. But I also want to encourage you to put the links to your social media posts on your website, and I'll show you an example of that as well. My personal choice on social media is to be friendly and professional, not personal. Now, that could be something to do with my generation, but it's a safe bet, because if you share a personal story and then you yourself grow and develop and don't really relate to that previous story, it's kind of out there forever. And I don't like that. That to me is a risk. So I'm always friendly and engaging, but I keep that level of professionalism in everything I do. I also make sure that I abide by any user agreements. I don't try and game the system in some tricky way to get a bigger advantage out of it. I just say, no, I'm just going to turn up and keep doing this and da-da-da-da-da, and that will be enough. And on that basis, it is better to systemize your content activity than it is to automate it. Because when things go out automatically, things can go wrong, but also it might be a breach of the user agreement, and it definitely is with LinkedIn to automate things. So let's assume we're doing everything right. How do we go about it? Well, you have to be able to sustain that momentum. It's no point doing the 3 and then nothing. You want to be able to do something on a consistent basis in a time-effective way. You're going to have perhaps your own colours, style, voice, style guide of some sort. And it is a good idea to put in a mix of content. So you don't just do images, or you don't just do videos. On some of the platforms, you can run polls, you can add documents, there's all these other options available to you. So if you use those other techniques, that can work. Live videos, you can do that as well. I have found that most of the platforms want you to upload everything directly into the platform. And I am about to experiment with TikTok. Instead of uploading a video directly to the platform, recording the video in TikTok, and I believe that it's going to make a significant difference to the reach. I haven't run the test yet, but I'm definitely going to be running it and seeing if there's a difference in the reach that I get by using the TikTok platform to produce the content. The reason I haven't done it up until now is because I don't have time to, record a video for TikTok, record a video for Facebook, record a video for Instagram. I mean, I'd just be here all day just recording. And I like to just streamline things, systemize things. So yeah, I've got to weigh up the cost benefit, but if it makes my videos go viral, then maybe I'll have to do it. And again, that will be an executive decision I'll make after I've tested it. So all social media turns out to be a bit of a dog's breakfast unless you stay focused on your purpose. And you really need to have some goals. And that's why every webinar that I run, I put in the numbers that are following me on social media, because that gives me an indication of what's happening. But I don't analyze each post and say, oh no, that one only got 2 reactions instead of 32, so I better, reevaluate my whole thing. No, I don't go down that path. I just keep turning up, turning up, turning up. But I do have bigger goals, which is, well, what else could I potentially achieve with this, and what is realistic to achieve? And then occasionally I get unexpected surprises. So one of those surprises is I publish poems online, and I was contacted by a composer in Chicago, Illinois, who wanted to write a piece of choral music to one of my poems. And of course, he found me online, he reached out to me, and he has written it, and it's now on YouTube. How exciting is that? So you just would never expect these sorts of things to happen. But because I'm a publish first, not a hold all my cards close to my chest and not publish it until it's in a traditionally published book, I'm not that category. I'm out there publishing because it leads to these extra opportunities. I'm always thinking of that bigger picture. But I also have to be conscious, because it's only me here. I don't have a virtual assistant. I don't want a virtual assistant. I want to use technology to help me make these things happen efficiently. Mind you, I probably still do work too many hours, but nevertheless, I feel comfortable with that. And you've really got to decide the time versus the target. So with this TikTok thing, I knew that if I uploaded it directly to TikTok, it would perform better. But do I have the time to do that, and or the headspace to do it? And I haven't until now. So my next one will be done. You also need to remember that social media is a due diligence tool, and people will check you out on social media, and they will make perceptions about you. And I'll never forget this video I saw some years ago, where this woman put a video on a professional platform talking about how she'd broken up with her boyfriend and had been spending the whole weekend drinking. And I'm thinking, are you nuts? Like, why would you publish this video online? So, just be conscious of that. I mean, we get so comfortable with the platforms that we think it's okay to share our dirty laundry, as the expression would have been used in the past. No, I don't believe it is. And that's not just a generational thing, it's a strategy thing related to social media. You do need to be curious about new trends. In the past, I've always recommended an image that tells a story. Maybe it's got a sign in the image. But now, of course, a lot of content is video. So having that thumbnail is a really vital component of your video production. And so, yeah, that's also, and at the end of the day, you've still got to be pragmatic. Got another question here. I work in a difficult space. Do you know of someone who trolls your stuff to see if what could be putting people off, turning them away? Look, I assume people could be trolling me at any time. But because I produce so much content and it is my voice in that content, I don't worry about what else is said. And let's face it, any office we've been in, there is a grapevine and people are gossiping about you behind your back when you're out for the day or on your lunch break or whatever. So look, just try not to be anxious about it. Stay focused on what is my objective, and obviously set boundaries. If somebody says something inappropriate, then that needs to be dealt with. So I used to run workshops for the Parliament of Victoria. So the people who came to those workshops were staffers working in the offices of members of Parliament. So they were in that political sphere. And as you can imagine, women in positions of politics were trolled on social media. And there was a variety of ways to decide how to handle that. The first was to ignore it. I don't think that's really sensible. Second is to delete it. Oh, yeah. Third is to respond and call it out. Well, what busy person has time to do that? And the fourth option, which I was super excited to think about, was get somebody else to defend you and get somebody else to call it out. And I think that is a really good strategy. So if you've got some people who can be on your team and ready to defend you, that in my mind is the best way to do it. However, that said, if you ever do receive anything of a negative nature, particularly if it's sort of really bad, I would immediately take a screenshot and save it to my device. because some trolls will publish it and then delete it. So then you've got nothing to report to the police. And so if that is a concern, please take date and time screenshots and have a record, a copy of the link to the comment and all of that, so that the police can investigate it, because quite often those trolls are trolling other people as well. Okay, testing the tats. Now, sorry, tactics and testing. Megalomaniacs. In my view, even though some of the platforms are owned by megalomaniacs, all of them have a megalomaniac approach in that they want more people on their platform more often for longer. So we've just got to assume straight out that's where they're all coming from. They're going to prefer you to use their systems because that's what they've created them for. And there is pointless trying to game the system, because as soon as somebody comes up with a gaming strategy, the staff in the platform will be able to identify it and develop a tool which will block that activity from happening again. Okay, so an example is engagement pods. People would join up groups and send a link out and say, everybody like this post so it goes viral. But then the platforms were able to identify the IP address of all of those people and know that the same people were doing it, and then they'd be able to remove those things. So that, you know, as soon as you come up with a gaming system, they're going to develop a defense system against that game. So look, just stop wasting your time on all these crazy ideas and just stick to the, you know, turning up and doing the right thing. Ask for help if you need it. Always be polite. And if there is an issue, take it offline. And please, for goodness sake, get to the point. I don't know about you, but I hate those videos that start off with, there's going to be something I'm telling you, and point 3 is the best. So then you have got to sit there and listen to the first 2 points, whether you like it or not. And you had to listen to them say, listen to the third point. You know, like, just tell me what you're going to tell me, is my philosophy. Stop, you know, trying to just get people to linger, just really get to the point and just keep going with whatever social media strategy you've got. Now, this is my big boastful moment, all right? So late last year, I started producing videos on my phone, which I just put on my desk on a little stand, and I did the front camera, not even the best camera, and I started recording videos of less than 60 seconds and putting them on my website and all my socials. Okay, so I have also been in contact with the LinkedIn editors here in Australia, and one of those editors, he runs up the careers section of LinkedIn. And this person asked me to create a video related to careers. So I did. And it's called Changing Careers. Do you know how to choose your next job or career? And then when I produced that video, I sent the editor the link, and he then let the LinkedIn editors of the video content know about the post. So it ended up in the circular world of videos going on LinkedIn. So a lot of the videos, if you're in Australia, on LinkedIn, on the videos tab on your mobile phone, will be American videos. But I, you know, through this contact I have, they added the video to the feed. So you can see I did this screenshot literally half an hour before this webinar. So I posted this last Thursday afternoon, and I let the editor know. And so it was passed on to the video team at LinkedIn. And you can see here it's had 4.5 million impressions, which means it's appeared on 4.5 million computer screens around the world. It has reached 2.6 million LinkedIn members. It's had 328,000 video views, a watch time of 587 hours. People have been looking at my face with an average watch time. So, you know, people don't like my face, it just went zip straight past it. That's a 0 seconds. So my average watch time overall out of those 328,000 video views is 6 seconds. And most people will tell you a video will go viral if people watch it for more than 3 seconds. So I've doubled that with this particular video. You can also see that I've ended up with 373 reactions to it, 33 comments, And of course, I ended up with 500 new followers on LinkedIn because on my LinkedIn profile, I've got a follow button, not a connect button, because I didn't want all these random people from random locations connecting with me. So I've just got a follow button. So this is what can happen when you just remain authentic. From day one, I have never tried to game the system. I haven't automated anything. I've just literally kept plugging away. I've built relationships, and that's the sort of thing can happen. Now, has anybody from this video contacted me and said, I'd like to book an appointment, which, you know, you could say was one of my goals, and I can hand on heart say, no. And then you might say, well, Sue, why on earth do you bother putting this stuff out on social media? And I do it because it maintains my relationships with the people I do know. So that's the benefit of doing this. And of course, this one is helping people all around the world who don't know how to change their career with a strategy that absolutely worked for me. So if you watch the video, you'll hear that I read books for 3 years. I did all this research and I didn't get answers. I was furious. I thought, how can I be doing research for 3 years and still not have an answer? So that's how I came up with this mind map. Yeah, so I'll show you that blog post in a minute, and I'll show you my mind map so that you've got a bit of an idea on that. So essentially, what am I going to recommend for your social media strategy? Hopefully you've got lots of little things that are going to be helpful to you, and I really want to hear those. But I believe the best place to publish your content is on your website. And that's how my poem got picked up by the composer. And even though I'm now writing 2 poetry books, I'm still going to, because I'm self-publishing, I can publish my poems wherever I want. I'm not restricted. So I still want to have them on the website because I can still get people to read my content, which is my mission. And plus the fact, if the social media newsfeed disappears, nobody will see that content ever again. But if I have it on my website, it can be found today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, whatever. I then share my whatever I've prepared on social media, uploading it directly if I can. And then all the links to those social media posts, I put them back on my website. So when the robots look at my website, they see this piece of content went out to those social media platforms. And then after I put all the links on, I copy and paste the link on my blog to archive.org/web so that there's a permanent record on the internet. Because when I die, I'm pretty sure my kids will not be paying for my website to stay alive. So my great-great-grandchild in the future may wish to know about my poetry, in which case they can look on archive.org and see all my poems there. So this is the reason why I do this. And also, I make it my mission to respond to every comment for as long as I can. If people make a comment on my social media posts, I will always respond to it. But I try to remember I don't want social media to be a time-wasting vortex. And we've just gone over the 30 minutes. So there were the specifics of what we've covered. So now it's time for you to think about what were your 3 favourite things. If you want to pop them in the chat, that'll be a great refresher for the other people here. You can also see more content on my website under publications, presentations, and all the webinars that I've done. I think this is my 40th, are there, and all the slides are there, all the recordings are there. And the next webinar I'll be hosting is part of National Careers Week in May, and it's going to be personal branding Australian style, because a lot of people feel very uncomfortable about putting their image and their stuff online. And so I'm going to be talking to that thing. Nikki said, how you get so much value into 30 minutes is totally inspiring. Yes, because I'm a learning junkie, Nikki. And boy, do I get annoyed when you listen, oh, that's in my book and that's in my course and that's in here, and you hear nothing. 30 minutes. Like, really, stop it. And that's also why I'm going to the short form video content, because I think I can get through a lot more bits of information and reach more people with practical stuff. So yeah, that's the goal there. Thank you, Tara, for your comment as well. Now, in 1989, Woody Allen was credited with saying 80% of success is showing up. So give yourself a pat on the back for showing up in person and or listening this far on the recording. But of course, I say you got to take action because otherwise, you know, it was a lovely half hour or so. And also my mother taught me you should always say thank you. And so there are various ways you can do that. You can add a comment in the Zoom chat. There's a feedback survey when you leave the webinar about what you found most helpful, what you plan to do next, what else would have been helpful. And you can also do a Google review, a Facebook review, an online review just on my website where you don't have to log in, where you can just email me and or follow me on my socials. And let me show you, there's a little star there next to that write a review. You're not allowed to tell people you're going to give them anything for writing a review, but let me just say I like to reward people who take action. Let's just put it like that. I don't want you to think I'm bribing you in any way, but I do like to reward people who take action because I get excited that they've actually done something. I get more joy out of hearing what you've actually done from the webinar than receiving a review. But of course, we're on the world of the internet, and people will do their due diligence and check out your reviews, and it's good to have something fairly recent. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go out of the slides and I'm going to show you this social media post, just so you know I'm not lying. Here is the post, Changing Careers. And you can see I've put in a couple of little emojis. I start off my social media post with a topic. I mention an organisation if it's relevant. I put a link to my this is a link to the LinkedIn article I wrote. It's not a link to my website because I'm trying to promote LinkedIn here. So that's an article about the Mind Map story. There's the video, and I'll just play the first. Your next job or career. So what you can see there is I've got a headline that runs for a few seconds, and then I've got these captions that automatically appear as well. And here you can see the impressions. And then if we go to analytics, you can see how much they've changed in the last half hour. So let's see what happens there. All right, that's taking a while to come through. Oh, there we go, 4598, 2634, 328. Yeah, still 6-second average. So, and I've got an extra reaction. So yeah, you can sort of track it. But I mean, I don't sit here all day looking for the numbers to go up. I mean, I get on with life. But this is the post on my website. So I've got a layout that I use for my featured image. And then I always write by Sue Elson, and then I put in the transcript, and there's the video. I've embedded that on the page. Google likes it when you've got one video per page and when you've got at least one image per page. So that's what I've got. And then there's a picture of the mind map, just so, and I've still got it. I can, in fact, I'll show you. Here's the original, still got it. So, it really does work. And because it's a values-based decision-making tool. So my values haven't changed. I'm still the same, at heart person. I want to be focused on these things. And even though this says, I did this over 20 years ago, most of these things I'm still doing, not so much the newcomers, but everything else I'm still doing it. It's all part of, who I am. And then what you can see, there's the link to the LinkedIn article. There's a link if you want to find a career development practitioner. Here's other articles I've written on the topic. And then, of course, I've given a call to action, which is the LinkedIn online course that I offer. And then here's where I've shared this video. And oops, I haven't put the link to Facebook page. I have to fix that up. But if I click this Instagram one, this will show you the video on Instagram, right? So when the robots come in and look at it, and you get the link for your posts off of usually off the timestamp, that's where the post, so you just copy that link and, you put that over here and you link to it. So yeah, it's as easy as that. So every time I put social media out, I don't just post it on social media, and I don't just post it on one because that's the flavor of the month. I put it on my website first. I share it on social media. I put the links back on my website. I put the whole page onto archive.org, and then I just respond to comments as they come through. Okay, have to leave, no worries. Okay, my favorites, looking at our contents as assets, clear example of how to be consistent and why not posting personal stuff. Great. Thank you, Nazrin. Found it interesting to learn that it's good to make comments as lengthy as possible and to repeat words from the post. Yeah, that's a really, productive one. It's not gaming the system, but it's showing the value you got out of it. Bronwyn, I found it interesting to learn that it's good to make comments as lengthy, but oh yeah, that's what I just read. Sorry. Thanks so much. Yeah, always so informative and helpful. Thank you, Karen. I like the structure and efficiency of the webinar. Yes, no, I'm right to the chase. And lots of information. Thank you, Christopher, as well. All right, so I will stop sharing my screen and just open up for general conversation. If there's anything else you'd like to comment on, add, whatever.
Can I ask a question, please?
Please do.
Thank you so much, Sue. You mentioned about Facebook Messenger is more effective than Facebook. I have no idea. Can you please explain?
Well, I believe most people don't log on to Facebook as their preferred social media platform anymore, but a lot of people use Facebook Messenger as a way of communicating. And I think they do it because A, it's free, and B, they can see whether the person has read the message or not, whether they're using an Android phone or an iPhone. So I think it's become a messaging tool of choice, and a lot of people, like for instance, when my child was working at McDonald's, they had a Facebook group where everybody would sort of share details of shifts, and that was run in Messenger. So yeah, it's a tool that people use. So would I suggest it as, start your marketing and send your content out via Facebook Messenger? Heck no. I mean, I do not have the time to do that, but I'm just letting you know that, sometimes if you want to reach someone, there was actually a concern at one point that people were using social media so often, they were not even checking their emails. So the only way to reach someone was via direct message. And, initially that was via Facebook, and now it might be via Instagram. But some people, you can't find their email anywhere. So that could be the only way you could reach someone in some cases. And another one of my clients, she was concerned about the cost of MailChimp to send out her email newsletter, but she always had work and she was always getting clients and she was always getting loads of people to her webinar because she was sending out reminders via email. So her audience was looking at these emails and responding to it. So again, you wouldn't just rely on social media and having loads of followers on social media. The only way people were getting her content was via her email newsletter. So again, that would be, you'd still post the events on social media, but you wouldn't rely on social media to get people to purchase a ticket or register for the event. Yeah. Hope that helps. Impressed with how concise and to the point the presentation is. Yes, that's right. I aim to share useful information in everything I say. Tara, question.
Just a quick one. Thank you, Sue, and good to see you again. Just that you made a comment at the front end about having your own name website.
Yes.
And I just wondered if you could say a few more words about that, please.
Yes. Okay. So in what context?
Well, whether I'd go down that path or whether I actually look at a brand as a self-employed person. Yeah.
As a self-employed person. Okay. Are you planning to sell your brand to somebody else when you stop doing whatever it is you want to do?
Well, that'd be wonderful.
But is it likely? We've got to ask ourselves these questions. Okay. So
yeah. Not if I was doing it under my own name. If I was doing it under a brand, then possibly, yes.
Yeah. So I've always chosen, Tara, to be an entity of one. I've tried to have staff. I've tried to do the virtual assistant. I've tried it multiple times too. It's not just once. And it just doesn't work for me. It's just, I can use tech. I can battle things out. I ask for help when I need it, and I just keep going. So for me, this is the model I choose. And somebody once said that when you've got a business, you've got 80% expenses and 20% profit. And when you're just yourself, you've got 80% profit and 20% expenses. So if you think about it, for me, I'd rather have 80% of profits and 20% of expenses. I mean, it just makes life so much simpler. And of course, the other thing is, because it's all up to me, I have had to look after my health. Like there is no negotiation on my health, because if I'm not here, nothing comes in. So, or you know, a little bit might, but not a lot. So I'm very grateful for that. Now, as to my invoices, do my invoices go out under Sue Elson Proprietary Limited or something? No, they go out under the business name 120 Ways Publishing.
Yeah.
And I do have a website called 120 Ways Publishing. But am I doing all the social media and all the other things on 120 Ways Publishing? Heck no, I just do not have the time to do all of that. And because I am the product, most of the time people are going to be dealing with me, not an associate of mine. They're going to be Googling me, not 120 Ways Publishing. And so that's why I've decided to put it under my own name. And yeah, I am the brand. I mean, when we run our business, we are the brand. Now, this is not a new phenomenon, because when my first website went online, Newcomers Network, I had a journalist ring me up and I'm saying, yes, I'm here to help people who've moved. La, la. Oh no, what's your story? And I'm thinking, hang on a minute. This is about my brand, not about me. But if I mention Virgin to you, who do you think of? Richard Branson. You don't think of Virgin CEO. I mean, I wouldn't even know who Virgin CEO was. And so again, we think about the person, and we generally do business with a person. Now, if you did business with me and I wasn't able to do it and I passed you on to somebody else, in theory, you would have the confidence that that person would, you know, be able to do it at the level that I suggested they would be able to do it. But they're still coming through me. So yes, your invoices can still have your business name on it. There's no problem with that. But if I'm going to, you know, you should speak to Tara. Even if my best friend says that, the first thing I'm going to do is search for Tara in search and in chat, and I'm going to say, well, what has Tara done? Is what my friend said true or not? And then I'll make that buying decision.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's great. Thank you. Looking forward to your webinar. And you said May about the personal branding.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that one too, because I think it's something that a lot of Australians struggle with, because particularly those born before the year 2000.
Most of us.
Yeah, we were taught to, you know, be quiet, not boast, follow orders, do the right thing, you know, like, and so putting ourselves out there is a really uncomfortable process. But if you tell me you did A, B, and C, I have no problem with that. If you tell me you were the best in Australia at A, B, and C, I'd have doubts. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with saying what you can do. There's nothing wrong whatsoever. And I've got another article about how to write your achievements. And there's also another one called LinkedIn for Women. So if you Google that, you'll see it. And
I will.
It's a really good one as well. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Super.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Very generous woman. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I try to be. And Nazra, you've got another question?
Yes, please. In Facebook, I post 99% of my posts are public, not private for my friends. But still, I value the authenticity. And I mean, I get a lot of friend requests, but I have clearly said in my profile that I only accept friend requests from people who I know. So please introduce yourself. But many of them, at the moment, I've got 42. I checked 42 friend requests that I haven't accepted. I'm not sure if this is correct or not, because it's not too personal on my Facebook, but I don't know.
I just delete them at a very rapid rate, Nazra, because, you know, it'll be some divorcee from the American Army or some random person. And of course, this person doesn't know me. They're just trying to rip me off. I mean, you know, they're trying to annoy me. And so I just delete them without a care in the world. And so unfortunately, it's an issue with Facebook. I don't get as many of those pests on LinkedIn. But all of my clients get them on Facebook. So sadly, you're not alone, and it's just a feature of the platform. And I think Facebook should control that process more, because if people like you and me get entirely sick of it, we will leave the platform. So it's of no benefit to them to encourage that behaviour from random people. So, yeah, unfortunately, it's just a fact of life.
Some of them, yeah, I agree with you. But some of them, there are mutual friends between us.
Yes.
And probably they have seen my post that those friends have liked, or I don't know, commented. That's why they have come to me.
Yes.
So I don't want to be disrespectful to people, but it will waste my time if I want to check one by one from the mutual friend, who is this guy or.
Yeah. The way I get around that, Nazrin, I basically say no to everybody, and I have a Facebook page. And so if they're really genuinely interested in what I have to offer, there's a Sue Elson Facebook page and they can follow that. So yeah, too bad, so sad. I'm just, if you've got a policy, stick to your policy. My policy with LinkedIn is I will accept pretty much anyone who is based in Australia, regardless of their background or expertise. If they are overseas, there has to be some level of similarity and they have to have a reasonable sized network, because on LinkedIn, I can only have 30,000 connections and I'm getting close. So I can't be as generous as I'd like to be. But also, if anybody annoys me for any reason, they start spamming me, they message me inappropriately, they ask me inappropriate questions, I will report and block them immediately, no questions asked. And one person was very angry that I did this and messaged me and said, you didn't even give me a chance to explain. And I said, but you knew you were doing the wrong thing. So, just don't. And the only negative experience, and I've shared this story before, is somebody wrote an inappropriate comment on one of my blog posts, and I looked at their LinkedIn profile and they had an ex-military background, and I have 2 siblings who were in the military, and one sibling has had challenges from their military career. And so I know that we need to be sensitive with somebody who's had a military background. So I immediately transferred that conversation to direct messaging, and I messaged this person, said, what's going on? Then they threatened the lives of my children. And of course, I did what every self-respecting citizen would do. I reported that to police with the information I knew. I took screenshots, etc. And the police did a welfare check. As soon as I called the police, they already knew of this person. And then I messaged the person afterwards, because obviously the police didn't get back to me with what had happened. And this person said, thank you for calling the police. I knew you would. And I let him have it. I said, that is not appropriate. You should not have done that to me. And I suggest that in the future, you enjoy where you live. This person lived in a beautiful part of Australia, near the beach, like a gorgeous part of the world. And I also suggested that they get back involved in voluntary work so that they could get out of the house, because clearly this person was not capable of working, but would have been welcomed into the community if they were working there on a voluntary basis. And they turned around and said, thank you. I was at my happiest when I was volunteering, and I've never heard from that person again. But at no point did I lose my cool in that situation or start panicking about it. I just followed the procedure that I already had in place, because part of my training when I was at Westpac was that if somebody comes into the bank with a gun asking for cash, you give it to them, like that was the training. And so I knew, okay, well, part of my training with social media is I take the conversation offline, I take screenshots, I report to the police. I just knew the procedure to go through and I did it. And so that's what's valuable about having a strategy. You can just follow it and don't feel bad about it. Just do it. Yeah, if that helps. Yeah. Tara, another question.
Thank you. So just a very quick one. Is it possible to access the Messenger and just not engage with Facebook at all? And but you'd have to keep your page open, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and look, I still post everything on my page anyway, but the number of followers I've got is very low. But the reason I keep it is and a lot of my clients are over the age of 60, right? Which is, a lot of them are on Facebook looking at photos of their grandchildren and so on and so forth. So their, for want of a better word, preferred platform is Facebook. So if the only place they're looking for me is on Facebook, there is something there for them to look at. So no, do I spend extra time or do I get lots of comments on Facebook? No. But because I know that it ranks in Google and that people are still there and people will automatically, as part of a due diligence process, check Facebook as a platform, then obviously I want to have something there. But if one of my clients is an accounting firm, I'd say forget it altogether. You know, like it's really not going to be the first port of call for somebody looking for accounting services. So, you know, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for that business. But as I'm a digital mentor for older Australians or older people full stop, or sometimes younger people, believe it or not, because a lot of younger people don't know what I know. So I mentor younger people as well. Yeah, I've chosen to keep it.
So I haven't posted on my Facebook page for probably 6 or 7 years, but I do use Messenger. So that's I can.
No problem. Yeah.
And my demographic wouldn't be over 60, so that I would pretty well guarantee I'd be okay to. Yeah. Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Just share the same stuff. Whatever you do on LinkedIn, just whack it on Facebook as well. You know, no problem. I use exactly the same text. I just copy paste, and put it on all the platforms. Yeah. I don't change it. Just do the same thing. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
That's why I say systemize things. Don't automate, but systemize. Because if I was automating it, I might not have the image in the right dimensions for the platform, blah, 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 blah. So it's easier for me to just be focused, you know, have all my pages open, go bang, 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 copy the links in the thing, done, you know. So
and job's done. Yeah.
You get fairly efficient at it over time. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thanks again.
All right. How are we going? We've got to 1 o'clock. Been an hour. Any final questions or comments? All good. All right. Well, thank you for your time and tips. You're welcome. I'm happy to answer quick questions via email, sueelson@sueelson.com. And wish you all the best in your online. As I said, this is the last one in a series, so it's kind of bittersweet in some ways. But yeah, I found that my short form video reaches, as you can tell, a lot more people. So better to spend my time on that and focus on those miniature pieces of learning rather than the long form content. So thank you and bye for now.